Hi everyone and welcome back to the Football Tribe YouTube channel. Robert Kesakos is your usual suspect. It's yet another evening broadcast for us to get into and speak matter sport because there's plenty for us to talk about this late night. It's about 40 minutes past the hour of 10 p.m. East African time. I believe it's the same time around around Turkey, where our friend Safa Ali does come from, and things of that nature. So allow me test out our audios, and we'll get in the gist of today's conversation because there's plenty to talk about. Luka Modric is leaving Real Madrid. That's the biggest news of the day. It trumps any other news that you may hear in the world of football because of his legendary status. I mean, he's earned that. So I think we're good to go in terms of our audios. We're good to go on this part of the audio. We are in the clear. But let me wait for others to join the broadcast so that we can get into tonight's conversation. It's going to be a bit of a light one. We'll keep it simple and light, but we will engage on all fronts. We'll be discussing all the topics that you want us to discuss from the world of football, in the Premier League, the world of transfers, and things of that nature, because things are really, really heating up. The conversations are beginning to flow. The early summer transfer window has been confirmed, and that kicks off next week. Next week on Sunday, depending on how you read your calendar. Anyways, so that's what we will be talking about and much more. But like I said, majority of the news has been dominated by the retirement by Luka Modric announcing that he will be leaving Real Madrid at the end of the season. Of course, he will play for them at the FIFA Club World Cup and that kind of thing. So let me wait for others to join us and we can get into the gist of today's conversation. But those are the things we'll be speaking about. We'll be speaking about Arsenal's dilemma in regards to what striker they may choose. Then we may speak about, of course, the transfer speculation. We'll get to speak about Ruben Amorim's comments, Angie Postecoglou's comments in the aftermath of the events of last night that we already spoke about extensively. I can see Dane says, "Sir, hi, is it Danny? Yes, Danny. Danny. Hi, Danny. Henry. Hi, how are you doing? Good to have you here. Where are you joining us from? Kindly like the broadcast, please. I can see Florisha. Hi, Florisha. Good to have you here. I can see Raunak. Hi, Raunak. How are you doing? Good to have you here. Would you rather watch a tree grow or a knee grow? Nice joke. Nice joke, Dave. Henry is from Germany. What part of Germany? Good to have you. Good to have you on the broadcast. Guys, kindly please like the broadcast, but also consider subscribing to the channel if you're new here. Please like the broadcast, but consider subscribing to the channel if you're new here. I mean, then you made my day with that joke. Kudos to you. Much appreciated. Thank you for bringing the light moments. My country, I'm from Uganda, Kampala, Uganda. Kampala is the capital city of Uganda, so I'm from Uganda. And good to have you, every one of you, each and every one of you that is joining us here. Good to have you. I want to hear from what country are you from, how has been your day, and that kind of thing. And if you're a fan of football, what team do you support? In any case, should we be a fan of football in that sense? Florisha says, what is bomboclat? What's bomboclat? I'm not sure I understand the terminology, but is that a Jamaican terminology when you say what's bomboclat? But anyway, I think it's one way of greeting your birthday, somebody that you're well acquainted with. I do not know. I'm only trying to guess here. Florisha, where are you joining us from? Kindly let me know in the comment section. What country are you joining us from? And how has been your day? Bomboclat is a meme, I guess. Okay, that's Raunak saying he guesses Bomboclat is a meme. Okay, okay, if that's your interpretation of it, that's also okay. Good to have you all. Good to have you all. Where is Safa Ali? Where is Matt? Where is Ron? You know, our usual suspects. Where is King? King, a colleague of ours from India. Florisha says, I'm from Saharan my, Indonesia in the Philippines. Oh, you're from Philippines. How is Philippines? How is Philippines? Philippines, I think back in around 2021, 2012, 2011 was a very popular country here in Uganda. And what made it popular were the TV series that people were watching up here in Uganda on one of the local TV channels. There was a Philippines show that had started at the time, and that's when most people got to know about Philippines. How is it there? How are you guys doing? Somebody didn't tell me where they're joining us from. Is Rona? Is that the flag of India? Is that it? Then Danny. So, anyways, good to have you. Good to have you all. Good to have you. Florisha says, which religion are you? I'm a Christian. I'm a Christian. That's all I can say. India cricket is more popular than football. Yeah, that's true. That's true. India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, all those West Indies. I mean, for you, cricket is quite very popular. Here in Africa, the countries that really know how to play cricket, that I really rate highly, is South Africa. Of course, Namibia do try. I think they are better than Uganda overall, but South Africa is the one for me that leads the charts. And as far as cricket is concerned, but I understand when you say cricket is what is more popular. That's true. That's true. For India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, you guys are really good at that. You guys are really good at that. Unfortunately for me, cricket is I won't lie. It's not a game that I understand A to Z, but I'll be open to learning. It's not that kind of game that I understand A to Z. But I love it when guys are batting it out and the referees calling the wickets and everything. So good to know. Good to know. Good to know. But in case any of you is is a football fan in one way or the other, any team, any club you support, you can also let me know down in the comment section. Even when you predominantly love cricket. What kind of Christian? Orthodox, Catholic? Let's just leave it at Christian. I'm a Christian. What kind of Christian are you? Are you even a Christian, Florisha? Let me know. Are you a Christian? Or your what is it called? There's so many. There's Buddhism, there's Hinduism, there's Muslims, there's Christians, there's Christian. Yaso says hi. Hi, Yaso. Welcome to the broadcast. Kindly help me like the broadcast and also consider subscribing to the channel if you're new here. I do understand. You say Orthodox Christian. Okay, that's good. That's good to know. All I know is that we pay respect to the same God above us, the Most High. And for me, that's the most important thing. Can you say Alan wa Shalan? Alan wa Shalan? What does that mean? Yaso, what does that mean? Somebody help me interpret that. Oh, Yaso, kindly give me the interpretation of that. I wouldn't want to be pronouncing words that insult others unknowingly in the form of, is that a greeting? Is that a welcome message? Does that mean thank you? It means welcome. Okay. What language is that? Alan was Salan. Alan was Salan. Okay. I'll try to remember that. Alan was Salan. What language is that? Yes. Ronak says, will you visit India in the future? It's on my bucket list. That's all I can say. I've received a few invitations from some people here on some of our broadcasts, extending me the invitation to go and visit India. I think I'd love to visit places like Mumbai. I would love to go and see the Taj Mahal, and one of the seven wonders of the world. Yaso says, where are you from? I'm from Uganda. I don't know if you've heard about Uganda, but I'm from Uganda. That's in the eastern part of Africa, a small country called Uganda. That's where I'm from. Guys, kindly like the broadcast once you join us, and also consider subscribing to the channel if you're new. Florisha says, what's the time out there? It's 8 minutes to 11 p.m. So it's 8 minutes to 11 p.m. I do not know what time it is in your country. What time is it in your country, Florisha? Let's just first have a light chat before we get into the gist of the conversation. Let me get to know you guys before I get into the thick of the conversation of what this broadcast will be about, really. Because, like I said, we'll be speaking about Luka Modric leaving. It's almost 4 a.m. Wow, Florisha, what are you doing being out at 4 a.m.? Are you working night shifts, or you've woken up to go to work? Because 4 a.m. usually most people are asleep. It's 1 a.m. in India. Oh, yeah, really? Yeah, 1 a.m. approaching thereabout. Yeah, you guys are 2 hours ahead of us. UK is 2 hours behind us. So in UK, it's about 8. Yeah, it's approaching 9 in the UK. You say I was praying. Okay, that's good. That's good, Florisha. Good to know. Good to know. Keep up the spirit of believing and whatnot. Then you say, Yaso says, do you know Al Ahli? Oh, Al Ahli, the Egyptian club. Yeah, I know about them. They played a couple of games in the FIFA Champions League with some of our local teams here. I think they played KCCA at some point in a couple of years back. So very, very big club, and they are going to be representing, I think, Africa in the FIFA Club World Cup that is going to be played in the United States of America. That's starting around June 13. It will have 32 teams grouped into 8 groups. Those teams will play 3 games at the group stage, advance to the round of 16, then quarterfinals, semifinals, and eventually the finals that will be played in July. So it's going to be a 1-month tournament. So I know about them. I think it's Al Ahly and Mamelodi Sundowns are from South Africa that will be representing the African continent. I'm not sure if there is any other, but at least I've read about those two. You say, okay. Guys, if you're new, kindly consider supporting the channel by subscribing to the channel so that we can continue to grow. But good to have you all. Thank you for taking the time. Thank you for the kindness. Really, really appreciate it for the love and support. And I hope you all doing fine. Or Zamalek. Zamalek is also one of the other clubs that is really, really strong in as far as African football is concerned. The likes of Raja Casablanca, Zamalek, of course, El Ahly, Esperance. Then there's also another club I'm forgetting. But there's so many big clubs depending on what country you go into. There's so many. There's so many. So Al Ahly will be playing against Inter Miami on the 15th of June. So they're going to be representing. But yeah, Zamalek is also another big club. And as far as African football is concerned, Al Ahly has higher morale than Zamalek. Okay. Yeah, so you really speak highly of them. Are you from Egypt? Are you from Egypt? Would be interested in learning whether you also are a descendant of the Nile, whether you do enjoy the waters of the Nile. Oh yeah. Oh, okay. That's beautiful. I'm from down Uganda. I'm sure you've heard about Uganda, where we have the source of the Nile that runs all the way up to the Mediterranean Sea, where you guys, I'm sure you probably heard about Uganda. What's that word? Anamasi. Okay, I don't know what that means. What time do you sleep? Usually usually at around 2 a.m. That's when I go to bed. But usually every day, Monday to Friday, we do these broadcasts, especially when there are games. Safa Ali is here, the one I was mentioning about earlier. Safa Ali is from Turkey. It's approaching 11, same thing in Turkey. I'm Egyptian. Okay, understand you, Yaso. If you can see, the Safa Ali there is from Turkey. He's a Fenerbahce fan. He's an Arsenal fan in the UK. He's a Real Madrid fan, and yeah, and because of that, our conversation will be starting at Real Madrid tonight because Luka Modric has announced that he will be leaving the club at the end of the season. So his final game at the Santiago Bernabeu will be on Saturday. Sorry, is it Saturday or Sunday? I think on Sunday when they play up against Real Sociedad. So that will be his game, the game in which he will be saying farewell to the Santiago Bernabeu, a place where he's been for the last 13 years, having joined them back in 2012 from Tottenham Hotspurs. So you say you support Real Madrid and Al Ahly. Okay, that's good. That's interesting. So I think we are now 3 Real Madrid fans on the channel. That is Yaso, then Safa Ali, and I myself. But my first team that I support is Arsenal. So it's Arsenal, Real Madrid, and then all the others. But I love football in general. That's why I sort of put myself out there to speak about the game. So, like I was saying, Luka Modric, after a period of 13 years, that's more than a decade, he will be leaving Real Madrid after the FIFA Club World Cup. But his final game at the Santiago Bernabeu will be on Sunday when they play up against Real Sociedad. We all know Barcelona are already champions, so that game has no bearing whatsoever on the La Liga table. Who will win, Pyramids or Mamelodi Sundowns? I think I'll tip Mamelodi Sundowns to go all the way. They're one of the biggest, if not better sides from South Africa down there in the Super Sport, Premier League, that side. So very, very decent side, I would say, in Mamelodi Sundowns. So Luka Modric has won 6 UEFA Champions League titles. The first coming in 2014, he was part of that squad. Then, of course, in 2016, 2017, 2018, then 2022, as well as 2024, he's been there. He's won 6 Champions League titles. He's won 4 La Liga titles, 6 FIFA Club World Cup titles. He's won, I think, about 2 Copa del Rey trophies, about 5 UEFA Super Cups, and then 5 Super Espana. The Copa Super Espana, that's for Spain, which is like the Community Shield version of the English Premier League. Bye, because I have a test. Goodbye. Thank you, Yasus. Thank you so much for the time you've dedicated to be with us tonight. I wish you a wonderful night and good luck in your test. But as you sign out, kindly do not forget to subscribe to the channel as you sign out. But much appreciated for the time you've been with us. So that's Luka Modric. He will be leaving the club at the end of after the FIFA Club World Cup, whatever stage Real Madrid get dumped out of, or even if they go all the way to win it, he will be with them. And after that, he will be leaving the club. He said he will not be wearing the shirt physically anymore on the pitch, but it is one that will always be draped in his heart because of the incredible support that Real Madrid fans have shown him over the years. He's the king of the Trivela. For those of you that know that pass to the outside of the foot, he's the king of the Trivela. And I do not think Real Madrid will miss a player like him. But it's going to always be hard to replace such players, and that's why last season we had Toni Kroos retiring, leaving Real Madrid and eventually retiring. They've since failed to replace him. Now it is Luka Modric departing, and to that effect, I've had, of course, Real Madrid have been linked with potential moves for two Premier League players in Bruno Fernandes at Manchester United, very, very good player who turns 31 in September. Luka Modric in September, I think, will be turning 40. And then the other player that they've been linked with a potential move for has been Enzo Fernandez. In as far as their midfield is concerned, Enzo Fernandez at Chelsea, as reading a report from, I think, Bain Sport, and they were saying that they were discussing a potential swap deal between Real Madrid and Chelsea for Rodrigo to move in the opposite direction, and then Enzo Fernandez moves the other way, but they were yet to agree on the valuation of the respective players. It is understood that Real Madrid value Rodrigo at about 100 million euros or slightly more. You say who is liking? Florisha, what are you trying to ask? Kindly repeat your question. I didn't understand that better. Who is liking? So, anyways, like I was saying, so the two Real Madrid value Rodrigo Goes at about 100 million euros, while Chelsea, according to that report, the release clause for Enzo Fernandez, which I do not want to believe, is about 75 million euros. I'm really hesitant to believe that figure because you cannot buy a player for about 121 million euros and then their release clause is about 75 million euros. I really do not buy that for one bit. But anyways, that has been spoken about, although some sections of Chelsea say that Enzo Fernandez is not for sale. One of the untouchables in that squad. He is for the future, core player to the project. Same for Moises Caicedo, same for Romeo Lavia, Levi Colwill, Wesley Fofana, and those kinds of players. So again, we'll wait to see, but you can never say never when Real Madrid come into a player. But they've also been linked with a potential move for William Saliba, although they think or they've deemed the deal a little too expensive to try and explore at the moment. That's why they ended up signing Dean Howson from AFC Bournemouth as the player for their central defense solutions. Then, but they'll continue to explore the market for another centre back, and they are still in the market trying to strengthen their side as far as next season is concerned. So we'll keep an eye on that to see how Real Madrid behave in the market. But those are the primary targets for Real Madrid in Bruno Fernandes and Enzo Fernandez in regards to strengthening their midfield, especially knowing that Luka Modric is equally living at the back of Toni Kroos having left last season. Then there's another player they've been linked with a potential move for. I think he's in the Portuguese league. I need to find out the name and I need to confirm on that name. But he's a player that has been floated in recent days quite a couple of times. So we'll wait to see. But I mean, Luka Modric deserves all the farewell that he will be getting from Real Madrid because he's been such a great talent in as far as that club is concerned. A 2018 FIFA Ballon d'Or winner, despite being a losing finalist at the FIFA World Cup in the same year, they lost to France on the occasion. So that remains to be seen on where. But then that doesn't put his name in any question whatsoever in as far as the history books are concerned with where he stands in terms of legendary status. Very decent player. Then the other news that we did have in the day did regard, of course, came on the back of last night's victory for Tottenham Hotspurs, beating up against Manchester United by a goal to nil to go on to win the UEFA Europa League. After winning that, Ruben Amorim has come out to say that if the fans no longer want him, if the board is tired of him, then they will let him know. But in as far as being at Manchester United is concerned, he will not be quitting regardless of that result and regardless of how the season has really gone for them, it has been a horrible season. 39 points. They do have 16th on the Premier League table. Their worst campaign ever. Their worst had been 59 points in the Premier League era, and I mean they've trounced that by posting only 39 points. Even if they were to beat against Aston Villa on Sunday in their final game of the season, they could only amass a total of 42 points, which is still miles away from the 59 points that was their lowest at one point. So clearly, it's not really looked pretty for Manchester United. So of course, lots of disappointments, and then the captain in Bruno Fernandes saying that he would be open to leaving the club if that is the decision that the club takes, if they do want to raise some money. He does understand or acknowledge that the club may let him go in a bid to raise money, and because we know that yesterday night's loss did not only mean a loss of a title or a piece of silverware for Manchester United as fans and the club in general, but it also meant a loss of finances. It meant a loss in trying to cover up the gaps and patch up the gaps in regards to finances, because we know last year they made a loss of 113 million pounds, and over the last 3 years they've made total losses of about 300 million pounds. And according to PSR rules, that's the profit and sustainability rules of the Premier League, a club is only allowed to lose 150 million pounds in a course of 3 years. So it looks like they've already doubled that, and they will need to sell players to recruit, but they will also need to sell players to bring in money that can be recorded as profits on their books to try and walk away from that loss, or else very soon or later the PSR rules will catch up with them, just like they did against Nottingham Forest last season, just like they did against Everton last season, just like they could eventually do against Leicester City, who are being investigated for similar offenses and that kind of thing. So yesterday's result was really bad for Manchester United in all aspects, in as far as this season goes. And the captain signaling about a potential move away from the club. Here is what he had to say in an interview with one of the Portuguese outlets. He said about his future: the day the club thinks I'm too much, or it is time to leave, football is like that, and you never know. If the club thinks it is time to leave because they want to make some money, that is what it is, and football is like that sometimes. Remember, like I said, there's interest in Bruno Fernandes from Real Madrid, but the team that loves Bruno Fernandes the most is a Saudi Pro League club called Al Hilal. It's called Al Hilal, and they're going to be playing in the FIFA Club World Cup in the summer. So they wanted to sign Bruno Fernandes with a promise of a reported $1 million in salary per week. So clearly that tells you how almost desperate or how much they would want to sign Bruno Fernandes. Whether that comes to pass remains to be seen, but at least as of now, the player is open to a move away from Manchester United, should that be the decision that the club makes for financial reasons or for whatever reasons that they may make that decision. And then we need to speak about, of course, about the manager in Ruben Amorim. For him, he said he's not going anywhere, regardless. He's not going anywhere anytime soon, unless the board decides that they no longer want him, unless the fans decide they no longer want him at the club because things may have failed. And I think we've all floated about this kind of feeling, or we have the same feeling that if Manchester United go on to have a bad start to the season next year, then clearly sooner rather than later they may have to cut ties, even when he's been given the leeway to do things the way he's wanted to do them. And in part, this is what he had to say in regards to his future. Ruben, in the aftermath of yesterday's defeat to Tottenham, he said, "I'm confident in doing this job if the board let me, and as you can see, I am confident in my job. I will not change anything in the way I do things. I am not here to defend myself. That's part of what he said yesterday. He also said, I will not quit. I'm confident in my job and I will not change anything. So, and then he goes on to say, if the board of fans feel that I'm not the right guy, I will go the next day without any conversation about compensation. But I will not quit. So Ruben Amorim vowing not to quit at Manchester United because of those bad results, or just because of how poor a season Man United have had this season. Then, of course, the other person about in similar respect is none other than Alejandro. Alejandro Garnacho has been one of those players. Alejandro Garnacho has been one of those players. So apologies about that. I hope my microphone is still on. Alejandro Garnacho has been one of those players that has been frustrated with the way the season has gone at Manchester United, and he did pretty much say just as much in the aftermath of yesterday's game. We all know that Chelsea and Napoli were courting for his signature in January, and he did speak to those clubs. At least his representatives spoke to both clubs in Napoli and Chelsea, but a deal was unable to be made. But yesterday, he equally had some comments in the aftermath of the game, and those comments were captured. He was frustrated that he did not restart the game because he said, let me give me a minute to find that quote. So he said it's difficult. He said it's difficult for all of us. This season has been shit. We lost the final. We didn't beat anyone in the Premier League. It's very difficult. And then he went on to add that until the final, I played every round helping the team. Then the final, and I played 20 minutes. I don't know. The final, the season, the whole situation of the club, I will try to enjoy the summer, and then we will see what happens. So that is Alejandro Garnacho speaking about his frustration about not starting in the final, but overall about how the season has gone for them as a club and everything. Really, really, things have been disarray. Of course, Nana getting the stick yesterday for conceding that goal in the manner in which they conceded. Bruno Fernandes getting the stick from the Manchester United fans because his performance was underwhelming just as much as it was for everyone else. Mason Mount lost ship in that fixture. Amadou Diallo, things did happen for him in the second half. He really tried to have, some flashing moments in the first half, but in the second half, things didn't really happen for him. Rasmus Hojlund was a no-show. Nothing changed pretty much, even when they brought on Joshua Zirkzee and that kind of thing. So it was a frustrating night overall for Manchester United fans across the world, not just in the UK, not just those that were at San Mamés, and we will expect more. I was watching clips of Mark Modric, one of the Manchester United fans, in sheer, ranting, lamenting, and everything, having a go at those Manchester United players and calling them all sorts of names. And he called them cretins, he called them dildos, and every other ugly word that was able to come out in that moment of frustration in about how they didn't apply themselves in the game. He questioned, of course, Ruben Amorim's tactics and credentials for having failed to make the changes that he ought to have made at some point in the game and that kind of thing. So it was a really, really a frustrating night for Manchester United and their fans, and clearly understandable. But those words have not really been pretty, with Bruno Fernandes signaling that he could move away from the club. Then, away from Manchester United and their troubles, let's go briefly to Barcelona, where Hans Flick has extended his contract. He's renewed his contract, and initially it was bound to end in June 2026, but the new one does give him an extra year, and it will be ending in June 2027. And in a similar respect, Rafinha has also extended his contract at Barcelona up to until June 2028. So he still has 3 more years to his contract, while Hansi Flick, the manager, will have an additional 2 years at the club and that kind of thing. Then Barcelona's football director, Indeco, has also been speaking about their goalkeepers and all the other players, and he did say that they want to keep Vokshek Szczesny for another year, as well as Andre Mark ter Stegen, but he did acknowledge that maybe in about a year or two they will need to get some fresh hands in terms of goalkeepers, but also mentioned that they do have some nice goalkeepers in the La Masia Academy that are upcoming, so they may have to look there. And this is what he had to say. The idea is for ter Stegen and Szczesny to continue. It is true, if you think about next year or two, we would have to look for another keeper. We have talented keepers at La Masia. We could give them chances. And then he also went on to speak about Lamine Yamal, who they wanted to give a new contract, and there was speculation that he was demanding to be the highest paid player, and he said nothing of that sort did happen. He said Lamine Yamal did not ask to be the highest paid player on the team. It's not true. He just wants to be happy here. That's what he tells us and his agents too. And then he spoke about the future of Ronald Araujo. He spoke about the links with Marcus Rashford, and he spoke about wingers in general, and he said we like Luis Diaz, we like Rashford, and we like other wingers too. We can't talk about players under contract with other clubs. So I mean, he wasn't being very specific, but at least you can see he highlighted those two names in Luis Diaz as well as Marcus Rashford. Now, Marcus Rashford is one of those players that has been linked with a potential move to Barcelona for the last 1 year at least. And then, in some of today's papers, according to ESPN, Barcelona want to sign Liverpool's 28-year-old Colombian international. That's Luis Diaz, who has only 2 years remaining at his contract. I remember he's a player we spoke about when Mariam Omoto recently asked about any news about Liverpool, and he was one of those players that they are open to selling, but they are also willing to give him a new contract extension if he wants to stay with the club. So that's the situation. That's one situation to really keep our eyes on in regards to transfers and speculation in that regard. Then while still in Spain, Xabi Alonso is expected to start work next week at Real Madrid as their new manager. Of course, they do play their final UEFA Champions League game this weekend. Sorry, they do play their final Spanish La Liga game this weekend. I do not know why I mentioned the UEFA Champions League. Apologies on that. But this weekend against Real Sociedad, and after that, Xabi Alonso will walk through the doors and get his work started at the club, as that is what is expected there at Real Madrid. Then, as we leave, let's leave Spain and move back to the UK for a bit, because managers have been speaking in their pre-match press conferences ahead of the weekend fixtures, ahead of the final day, a match day of the Premier League, match day 38 of the Premier League for the 2024-2025 season. And among those speaking was Mikel Arteta, was Enzo Maresca, and the like. But in case you're wondering, it is George Mendes that represents Lamine Yamal. He's his representative or his agent, and he was barraged by media people asking him whether his player Lamine Yamal will win the FIFA Ballon d'Or the Ballon d'Or and that kind of thing. But we'll wait to see. Anyways, at Arsenal, Mikel Arteta did say that he wants Thomas Partey to stay at the club. And of course, we all know they are in two talks over a new potential deal. He said, yes, I would like Thomas Partey to stay and sign a new deal. Consistency-wise, it's been his best season. I think the way he's performed, his availability has been exceptional, and he's a really important player for us. That was Mikel Arteta speaking about Thomas Partey. So, guys, do not forget to like the broadcast and also subscribe to the channel if you're new on this channel. Anyways, so that was Mikel Arteta speaking about Thomas Partey. Of course, then they've asked him something to do with Rodrigo Goes, who has been heavily linked with the potential move to Arsenal, and he said that if you want to win trophies, you have to buy the best players. You ought to have the best players. He said something in that region. I'm trying to see if I can find the exact quote, but that's what he alluded to. So he did not in typical Mikel Arteta style, he did not say, "Oh, I can't speak about other. I cannot speak about players that are not with us or players of other teams." He simply said, "If they are big players, we practically would want to sign them," and that's what he alluded to, at least in as far as that moment was concerned in itself. So anyways, that's what he had to say. Let me try and find the exact quote of Mikel Arteta about Rodrigo Goes, because I think it would be good for us to put that conversation into context, because Rodrigo Goes, like I spoke about, he's been linked with the potential move to Arsenal, he's been linked with the potential move to Liverpool, as well as Chelsea and Manchester City, as a chance signing in as far as this transfer window is concerned. So, yes, here is what Mikel Arteta had to say when asked about Rodrigo Goes. If you want to win major trophies, you have to be the best in the market. We have to add goals, creativity, numbers, and that will be in different positions. So in a way, he was acknowledging, yes, we are interested in players of that caliber, players of the caliber of Rodrigo Goes. He does meet the age profile, only 24 years of age. This season, he's sort of fallen in the shadows of Kylian Mbappe because he prefers to play on the left wing of the pitch, and that's where Kylian Mbappe also loves to play for, and so he's falling in the shadows. I think he's had a goal contribution of about 20 or thereabout across the season. So, like in form of goals and assists, but by his own standards, it's been a bit of a dip in terms of form, but that came largely due to the limited playing time that he did have, as opposed to what he had last season. Then, in the other news is that Bayer Leverkusen have held conversations with former Manchester United manager Erik ten Hag. Now, remember, I did reveal to you here that Bayer Leverkusen did want to Bayer Leverkusen wanted a former manager, Cesc Fabregas, as their next manager. He was at the top of their list, but Fabregas has given his commitment. Excuse me, just checking out my microphone to be sure it's still on. Fabregas has given his confirmation or his word of trust to Como that he will be with them. He will be continuing with them next season, and they've committed to investing in the team. So that conversation is ongoing, and looks like Bayer Leverkusen have chosen to move on, and they have held initial talks with former Manchester United manager in Erik ten Hag to be their next manager, and he has told them he is available for the job should they make the conclusion that he is the best man suited for the job. He is available. In recent days, there have been speculation also linking him with the potential return to the Ajax after Ajax's manager, resigned from the job when they lost the Eredivisie title to their rivals in PSV. So that was on final day, and so that's to be expected. So, but if nothing changes, I do think that Erik ten Hag will be Bayer Leverkusen's manager next season in the aftermath of the departure of Xabi Alonso, who is going to Real Madrid, where Ancelotti is leaving to join the Brazil national team. Speaking of Carlo Ancelotti, his son David is attracting interest from Rangers as a potential manager there. So he could take up a role there, because I think the sporting director at Rangers is friends with him. And then, but also Steven Gerrard is one of those being considered for the role. Remember, he did guide Rangers to the Scottish Premier League title. That was in 2021, before moving to Aston Villa, where things overall did not work out for him. He was eventually sacked and then replaced by Unai Emery. So he's one of those in contention. Then the other in contention is Russell Martin, formerly at Southampton. He did play for Rangers in 2018, so he's one of the heads that they are considering for the vacant position at Rangers. So we'll wait to see how that spans out as well. So we'll wait to see how that spans out as well in regards to Rangers filling their vacant managerial position, but very soon or later they'll be making a decision. So then briefly in the transfer gossip or speculation, we've spoken about Arsenal, then Liverpool remain with Florian Wirtz for a number 10 in this window. Florian Wirtz at Bayer Leverkusen, that's according to Kicker German. They say Bayer Leverkusen attacking midfielder Florian Wirtz is expected to choose between a move to Bayern Munich and Liverpool within the next 10 days, with both clubs in on the 22-year-old German international. That's according to Kicker in Germany. Then we've spoken about Barcelona's interest in Luis Diaz. Liverpool have also looked at 20-year-old Lyon and Belgium winger Malik Fofana as a possible option if Diaz ends up leaving the club. That's according to Mundo Deportivo in Spain. And then Napoli and Chicago Fire are leading the rest to sign 33-year-old Belgium midfielder Kevin De Bruyne, who will be leaving Manchester City as a free agent this summer. We've spoken about Kevin De Bruyne's potential move to Napoli, that Napoli did put an offer for him, but he did say that now it's no longer just about him. He's not a 20-year-old boy. He has a family to think about when making his decision, so that could sort of impact where he plays his football next. It could be that he stays in England because there's also been reported interest there from the likes of Aston Villa. So let's wait and see. But he did acknowledge that he has plenty of offers to think about. There are offers from the Saudi Pro League, although those have not been sort of highlighted. The mainly ones that have been highlighted is the offer from AC Napoli and then the offer from the Major League Soccer clubs. Then Chelsea are determined to hold on to Argentina midfielder Enzo Fernandez, despite the 24-year-old being on Real Madrid's shortlist for possible targets this summer. Again, we've spoken about Enzo Fernandez at length in this particular broadcast with respect to Real Madrid's interest, but also Chelsea's stance as seeing Enzo Fernandez as quite a very important player in as far as the Chelsea project is concerned. He scored 7 goals and provided 13 assists in about 47 games across this campaign with Chelsea. So he's had quite a brilliant really performance. He's been one of their standout players throughout this campaign. That's the 2022 FIFA Club World Cup winner with Argentina, even though still just 24 years of age. Then Liverpool have offered their highly rated Spanish centre-back, Welity Lucky, 19 years, a 4-year contract. That's according to Fabrizio Romano. And then Fiorentina president Rocco Commisso is set to meet with Italian striker Moise Kean to try and convince the 25-year-old to stay amid his interest from a number of clubs. Remember his Moise Kean. You remember he left Juventus, joined Everton, where things didn't really work out for him. He ended up returning to Juventus and then ended up at Fiorentina, where he's had really a good time. He's really enjoyed himself while playing there. He's been banging the goals, and that's the president, Rocco Commisso, looking forward to convincing him to stay at the club so that they do have a very decent player. Then, Victor Gyökeres has told Sporting teammates that he is unsure where he will be playing next year, with the 26-year-old Swedish international of what being linked with a potential move to Arsenal and Manchester United. That's according to Canal 11 or via the Star. So that is the transfer gossip and speculation that has been making the rounds in as far as transfers are concerned. But then according to Sky Sports, there is no threat to the position of Manchester United head coach Ruben Amorim, despite the defeat against Tottenham. That pretty much we've spoken about extensively. Then, according to David Ornstein, Arsenal are still trying to make a decision on between 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 Victor Yokeres and Benjamin Sesko on who to sign. They are yet to decide on who their primary target is, but according to major reports, they say Benjamin Sesko is the priority striker that Arsenal want to sign, and Victor Yokeres is the alternative should they fail in their pursuit with Benjamin Sesko. But like Fabrizio Romano has widely reported, Benjamin Sesko will be definitely leaving this summer, will be leaving RB Leipzig this summer after they failed to secure European football for the first time since 2016-2017. So he's among the players that will be leaving, as well as Xavi Simons. Now, Xavi Simons, although recently just permanently signed to RB Leipzig in January, he is also wanting to leave the club. And with Bayern Munich interested, but Bayern Munich's priority signing is Florian Wirtz. But should they fail to secure Florian Wirtz, then they will switch their sights to Xavi Simons as well as Christopher Nkunku, both players who they monitored quite a bit. Xavi Simons has equally been, linked with the potential move to the likes of Manchester United, the likes of Arsenal, to the likes of Liverpool. Should Liverpool fail to secure a move for Florian Wirtz. So, I mean, those names are going to really be constant in our ears in as far as the transfer market is concerned. But then also, Manchester United have entered the race to sign Ryan Cherki, who will be leaving Lyon this summer. So, but with Manchester United not having UEFA Champions League football, it remains to be seen whether they will have the resources to try and sign all the players that they need to sign. Remember, they do want to land Matthias Cunha, who is quite expensive from Wolverhampton Wanderers, in a deal believed to be about £62.5 million. That is release clause for the 25-year-old Brazilian international who scored 15 goals, provided 6 assists in the Premier League this season. And then they are interested in signing Liam Delap as their #1 target for a striker. Their priority striker was Victor Yokeres, but with the lack of UEFA Champions League football, which affects their finances, and yet Victor Yokeres is more expensive as compared to Liam Delap, that may change United's priorities going into the summer. But then, more importantly, still speaking United strikers, is that Inter Milan, Juventus, as well as Napoli have inquired about Manchester United's Rasmus Højlund. I remember Manchester United are willing to do business with any club for Rasmus Højlund as well as Joshua Zirkzee. In fact, according to the Sun or Sunsport, today they did say that all Manchester United players are on table for potential buyers as the club scrambles for finances. So really, it's going to be an interesting situation financially to follow about Manchester United this summer in regards to how they conduct themselves in the market, in regards to how they support Ruben Amorim in this new project that they have to rebuild with the Portuguese manager. So we'll wait to see about that. But in regards to Arsenal's dilemma over the decision on Benjamin Sesko and Victor Yokeres, this is what David Ornstein said. It seems Arsenal are deciding between which of Benjamin Sesko and Victor Yokeres to pursue as their preferred target. They are both under consideration, but it's hard to know who is higher. There are many factors that contribute to such decisions, he said. But like I said, as some reports have indicated, or some reliable sources have indicated, that Benjamin Sesko is #1 on that list. And then, of course, initially it was Alexander Isak, of course, out. #2, Benjamin Sesko, now has become #1. Victor Yokeres, #3, and then the others do follow. The likes of Hugo Ekitike, Victor Osimhen, among others. Jonathan David will be a free agent this summer when he leaves Lille. So, anyways, that's the gist of the conversation in regards to transfers, in regards to managers, in regards to club situations, in regards to Manchester United, and where they do stand. Away from all those is at Tottenham Hotspurs. Now, the jury is still out for Tottenham Hotspurs with their management, led by Daniel Levy, over a decision on Ange Postecoglou. I think he signed a 3-year contract with the club. Ange to stay or Ange to leave. The whole world is waiting to hear what decision Tottenham Hotspurs will make about their manager in Ange Postecoglou, because he said he always wins trophies in his second season, and he just did that. He beat up against Manchester United by goal to nil, a goal scored by Brennan Johnson, Pape Matza providing the assist in the finals yesterday to lift Tottenham's first piece of silverware in 17 years. Their last having been an EFL Cup when they beat up against Chelsea by 2-1 in the finals of 2008. Jonathan Woodgate scoring the winning goal in that one, while Dimitar Berbatov scored a penalty to cancel out Didier Drogba's earlier winner on the day. So he has delivered a trophy, but losing 21 games in a season in the Premier League is inexcusable, is indefensible. But also, you do empathize with him, you do sympathize with him. His team has struggled with so many injuries across the campaign, which has really backed them into a corner to the extent that they had to choose on where to concentrate their concerted efforts with the few players that were available at the different stages of the season. And that's why their focus was in the UEFA Europa League. And with that, they managed to achieve the ultimate objective, win the trophy, qualify for the next season in UEFA Champions League. And that means that maybe they could be in the positives very soon in regards to their books, because last year they made the loss of about £26 million. So let's wait and see in that respect, in regards to what Tottenham, what decision they may make in regards to the manager of Ange Postecoglou. We'll wait to see on that. Anyways, that's the gist of today's conversation. I think we've spoken it all. Transfers, Man United, Tottenham, managers, Luka Modric. For me, I mean, agree. I mean, he's one of those players that has won the Ballon d'Or in the middle of Lionel Messi as well as Cristiano Ronaldo when they were still competing at the high stages. And then the other news is about Leandro Trossard at Arsenal. He's held positive talks over a new contract, and the feeling now is that an agreement is close. That's between Arsenal and Leandro Trossard. Remember, they do want to keep Leandro Trossard. It remains to be seen whether they will keep Leandro Trossard, Gabriel Martinelli, and then also sign another winger. For me, my argument would be that let them sign another winger even when they still have Martinelli and Leandro Trossard, because if anything, this season has shown that they were really, really short on numbers when it came to the forward positions. So if you add on a winger and a striker, then that could really, really go a long way. And if you get to sign a player, like Rodrigo Goes, he can play across the entire front line. So it gives you two things. You have a winger in him, but you also have a potential striker in the same breath should you lose your number one striker. And then Kai Havertz, who we all know is signed as a midfielder, becomes another potential substitute in the event that you lost them all. Then at Liverpool, again, we've spoken about this one before, is Harvey Elliott. Is one of those players that we've spoken about that could leave Liverpool this summer, and this is a Florian Plettenberg does work with Sky Sport Germany. He says a departure of Harvey Elliott is possible. There are many interesting inquiries and talks ongoing. Liverpool would not stand in his way if a suitable offer comes in. His contract runs until 2027, 5 goals and 3 assists, all competition for him this season. The likes of Leeds and Nottingham Forest are interested in Harvey Elliott. Remember, for Nottingham Forest, they have a player in Morgan Gibbs-White who is linked with a potential move to Manchester City this summer. So they may need a replacement there. But also, that notwithstanding, they're going to qualify for Europe, whether they play in the Conference League or the Europa League or the UEFA Champions League, depending on where they finish on that Premier League table at the end of Sunday, because they do play, their final game is at home against Chelsea. Then they will need to broaden their squad in as regards to players so that they can favorably compete both on the continent and also back at home. Speaking of Nottingham Forest, recently there have been potential reports that Nuno Espirito Santo could leave the club at the end of the season because of tensions that were rising between him and his bosses, more specifically Evangelos Marinax, that's the club owner, Nottingham Forest owner, as well as I think Olympiacos. So, but that news has not really gained much traction in recent days. So we'll wait to hear more of what happens in that regard, in as far as Nuno Espirito Santo is concerned. So anyway, lots of things happening, lots of things really happening in regards to transfers, in regards to player movement, and that kind of thing. Because Man City are also interested in Dani Olmo, who is at Barcelona there. But Pep Guardiola may need to convince him that he can join. Them at Manchester City. And then this is according to Florian Plettenberg. He says, as reported, Erik ten Hag has already signaled to Bayer Leverkusen that he is ready to become head coach. Ten Hag has always been the clear favorite for Leverkusen should the move for Cesc Fabregas fall through talks ongoing. I mean, that's what we were talking about earlier about Bayer Leverkusen's desire for Cesc Fabregas, and Cesc Fabregas having guided Como to a 10-place finish on the Italian Serie A table. Never mind that they still have a game to play on the final day. I think they do play Inter Milan, while Napoli have their game against who? I seem to forget who they will be playing on Sunday anyway. But he's really, really impressed, and clubs like RB Leipzig, clubs like Bayer Leverkusen have been circling around to see if they can lure him away from Como, but it looks like he's made the decision that he will be staying with Como next season. Anyways, guys, it's been 1 hour of us doing this. Kindly allow me wrap it up here. It's been having you. It's been good engaging with you. I want to send my shout outs to Ariam Omoto. We didn't shoot on today's broadcast. Yasso Seifi, the Al Ahly and Real Madrid fan. Thanks for being with us tonight. Florisha Young, that's from the from Philippines. It was good to have you. Safa Ali, always a pleasure. Ronak, good. It was a pleasure to have you. Thank you for joining us. Ariwan, and then who else? Then I hope that's how you pronounce your name. Then it was good to have you. Henry from Germany, it was a pleasure to have you. So thank you for having tuned to this broadcast. I always appreciate the love and support, the engagement, and everything you do for me as we do engage here on sport at night, and those that are able to join us every morning between Monday to Friday. That's between 10 a.m. and 11 a.m. every single day, Monday to Friday, and then usually on weekends between 11 a.m. and midday. Those that do join us for our routine broadcasts, your efforts are much appreciated. But before I sign out, allow me to remind you that if you're interested in learning digital skills like coding, web design, cybersecurity, please do not forget to check out our colleagues at Ebo State. There in Kansanga, Kampala. They do have a 5% discount for those courses in coding, web design, as well as cybersecurity. Very on-demand, skills in as far as the global market is concerned today. They do have a 5% discount for you if you're joining now, but I'll leave the link down in the description so that you can check them out later and see if their value proportions are of interest to you. But I think they really should be, because cybersecurity, coding, and web design are really, really important skills for anybody to have in the modern era. But anyways, allow me to wrap it here. It's been 1 hour and 4 minutes of doing this. It's been a pleasure being with you for this time, for those of you that have managed to stay with us the longest, and for those of you that broke away at the respective moments of the broadcast. And those of you that do watch our broadcast much later after they've ended, we do not take your support, love and support. It's always a pleasure. Have yourselves a wonderful night, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.